think we'll clean up our scene a little bit. So let's rename our model to cap_prim. Let's turn off these image planes. We don't need them anymore. We'll shift them up to the top. We'll shift left click on all of these image planes, group them. We'll call these image planes underscore GRP, GRP for group, and we'll move them up to the top. And you can just turn that group off, Control H. Let's turn the bottle back on, Shift H. We can leave the liquid off for now. I'm going to move this back camera right up to the top. And let's move ahead and model the text. So if we go to the Create tab, go to the text option box. In here, I've just typed in Soda. So that's the logo we're going to be creating. The font is Acia Bat Text Neue. You guys might not have this, and probably not, because I downloaded this from the Adobe Cloud, which is free. So if you have an account, you can download that. Let's set the type to poly, tessellation method to general, and the type to quads, and all the rest I left as is. So let's create that. I'm going to grab this top group here, hit W, let's move it. Let's move it up, sort of get this into place. Switch to the front view, F to frame. I'm just going to move this so it's kind of in the middle. Switch to the top view, see what that looks like. Yeah, I think something like that is fine. We'll click on the geometry here. Or actually, yeah, we'll click on the entire group. This is a geometry group. And we'll go to Shift, right click, and combine. So that's all combined into one group. Go to Edit, delete by type history. We can delete this group. So we're just left with the geometry now. We can rename this to Soda text underscore prim. When we're in the modeling tab, let's go to mesh display and reverse those normals. So the normals are now facing outwards. And we're just going to leave this as a single-sided object. Okay. Let's switch to the right view. I'm going to zoom in and I'm just going to shift this back. I'll rotate it so it's sort of parallel to the bottle. I'm just going to sort of line that up as best I can. So it looks something like that. I think we can push this back a little bit more. Something like there. I think that's fine. What we'll do then is we'll switch to the animation tab. We'll go to the form, nonlinear, bend. Go to the channel box layer editor. On the bend tab, we'll set the curvature to something crazy like 50 degrees for now, so we can see what's happening. So we can see it's going in the wrong axis. So we need to rotate this. So rotate it by 90 degrees. And you can change that here. So rotating on Y by 90. All the rest you can leave as is. I think we'll drop that back down to about, I think 23 degrees or something for now. Let's go to the right view. And what I'm looking out for is if I put this to 50, for example, you can kind of see it here. You can see the text. So we want to get that nice and in line with the edge of the bottle. So if I go to 30 degrees, almost there. 25 degrees, almost there. 22, how's that looking? Go all the way down. I think around 22 degrees is fine for that. The next thing we'll do is we need to bend this around the bottle on a different axis. So what we'll do exactly the same. We'll go to nonlinear bend, which adds another deformer. We'll rotate this 90 degrees, or minus 90 on Z. We can leave the other ones as is, and if you need to, you can set those to 0, but I think leaving them is fine. I'll increase the bend deformer to something crazy so I can see what's happening again. You can see it's going the wrong way. So now we can see that we need to rotate this around this way. And we're rotating that by 90 degrees on the Y. Just like that. So the text has disappeared and we can hardly see it. So I'll switch this back to something like 20 degrees for now. Let's click on the geometry, right click, new material. It's a sign of Phong. Right click, material attributes. Change the name of the material to something like soda text underscore matte, MTA, matte. I'll increase the color so it's fully white so we can see it. Let's go back to bend handle 2. Let's go back to the right view. I'm just going to start to bend this. You can also access it via the attribute editor or via the channel box, it's fine. I can just slide this until you can see it starts to disappear. I think around maybe 60. Let's go back to the perspective view and see what that's done. Okay, so we've kind of lost it a little bit. And what we can do at this point, if it's quite difficult to get this into place using the curvature, we can select the original handle, hit W. We can actually move this. I'm going to start to center it so it's sort of disappearing on the A and the S like equally. I think something around there I think is about right. I can move this inwards just a little bit to about there, and whilst I'm doing this I'm checking to see how much I'm pulling this in by, because we don't want this to come off the surface too much. But at the same time, as we discussed earlier, render engines don't like it when two surfaces are sat right on top of each other, so you get artifacting, so just be aware of that. And it's particularly noticeable with refractive materials, so you need to make sure that is really sitting a few, like maybe a millimeter above the actual surface. And I don't think we're ever getting that close, but we'd be able to see this anyway. I think we'll just push this in just a touch, like that. I think we'll grab the geometry, and I think we're just going to move this out ever so slightly. Just going to observe, see what that looks like. Maybe we pushed it a little bit too much there. Grab the handle again. Just going to move that until, just remember, the more you move this, the more you're technically distorting the text. So just be aware of that. It does take a little bit of nudging to get it into place. Might even play around with this one as well. Decrease that amount. And just keep having a play around with that until you get it. But that's more or less it. I've already done one before, so we'll probably use that one. But I think that's looking all right. Just the fact that the geometry is intersecting ever so slightly. So, but I think for the sake of the tutorial, I think that's demonstrated it. And if you need to, we can just decrease this down just a little bit, because I think that's too big. I'll go to the front view so I can see what I'm doing there. Just leaving a little bit of space, just so it's a bit more pleasing and easier to read. Okay, cool, that looks good. At this stage, I'll do a save as. Just like that. And we can delete the history on here, which will delete the bend handles. I'll do a file, export selection, cache, obj. Make sure we've got obj export selected, and we'll rename this to soda text underscore prim v001.